Welcome to season 4, episode 4 of the VoiceCast. This is our final season. Nope. Well, maybe it will be. This will be our final episode. This is it. Armageddon.
Yeah.
You know? He's just like, thank God.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
I am Pastor Sonia, and today with us we have Pastor Kaimana.
Hi.
We have Reese.
Hello.
And we have Izzy.
Hello.
And yeah, final season. Reese wanted to know what this were about. It goes to show you a couple things. I will skip the first 2 things, maybe explain to you later. The last thing is that, as you know, in January we do prayer cards. We do prayer requests, and everyone writes down their prayers. I noticed, like, when we were going through, we were praying for them as a staff, there was an extraordinary amount of ones dealing with, like, lust and sexual issues and sex, blah, 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 blah. So we pulled them, and about 2/3 of the prayer requests had to do with sexual identity, sexual purity, sexual brokenness, all that good stuff. So because of that, that motivated a couple things for us to pray and do these extra podcasts, TVMA, the voice mature audience only, and try to get raw and try to be as open as possible, but also pray extra for them.
That's all
these are
sexual ones?
Yeah. These
I thought that was just all of them to begin with.
No. These were just the sexual ones.
Yeah.
So this is our motivation. This is what we pray for. This is why we do what we do. So we have them here as a prop.
Jesus,
a prop.
help us.
A prop.
And a prop.
To inspire us. Okay, anyone can answer. We're gonna have a little debate right now to begin this finale.
Let's do it.
Who should make the first move?
I'll make the first move now.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I'll make the first
Me,
move.
I was like, please.
Okay, I think first we need to define like what the move is.
Oh.
Because is the move like sliding into the DMs, or is the move like asking you out on a date, or who is like explicitly flirty like first? Because that may determine. I think it depends.
Okay.
It depends on like it. For me, like I slid into Rachel's DMs first, but she was like explicitly flirtatious with me one time. She was like at the gym.
After the DMs?
Yeah, we had been talking for like a week, but like normal talk, like get to know talk, not like
not talking.
not talking. Obviously, we knew there was interest because we had been talking, but there wasn't like, I like you, I think you're pretty, or yeah, let's go to coffee. It wasn't any of that.
Mm-hmm.
She was at the gym. She took a picture, and then I was like, wow, you're so strong. I would need a spotter. It was like a 10-pound dumbbell. I was like, I would need a spotter. And she goes, I would spot you, winky. And I was like, had just come out of like the world, and I was like, whoa, put that winky face away. Like,
Oh my goodness.
I put that winky face away. I don't know what that means, but like I know that you're being like really flirty. It's the first time.
So you're saying she shouldn't have done that?
I think
No, I'm
you
not saying
still
she
made
shouldn't
the
have.
move, though. It's not like you guys had ever spoken.
But that's what I'm
before you
saying.
slid
Like,
into
what
her
is the
DMs.
move?
I think that's the move. Is the first.
The DMs.
Yeah, because why else would you be talking to her?
No, I know. I mean, I obviously found her cute, and I slid into her DMs, but it was just kind of like.
But I'm saying I think that's the move.
It's probably
because
just
you're strangers. I think if you guys are friends and you normally talk, and then she hit you with a winky face, then she would have made the first move. But since you weren't really friends and you initiated,
Yeah.
like it's clear why you would have been talking to her.
But still, but no matter what, is the DM, the flirty asking you out, all that, so it changes?
I think it changes like.
So who should make the
Did
first
you feel
move in the
attacked
DMs?
when she winked at you?
I'm sorry?
You felt like attacked, like she was being aggressive?
I thought she was being very explicit in her.
Oh my goodness.
So you felt like
That's okay, you can feel what you feel.
Hey, I knew what I know.
Like you felt
and I'm
violated.
married. We married. So
then who should have done the DMs?
I think either of us could have done the DMs.
Okay.
Truthfully.
And then who should have asked each other out first?
I think I should have asked.
The guy should have asked. And then
Did
who
she
should have
ask you
done?
out first?
I asked her out
Okay.
first.
And then who should have done
She
the winky
waited.
face? Or that should have never happened?
She sinned. She should not have done
Okay.
that. I'm just
No,
kidding.
but I mean, like, so the DMs.
No, I liked the winky face. It let me know that I was like, okay, she gave me permission to ask her on a date.
Okay.
And feel like there was some like space. So I think it's okay for women to be not like overtly, I don't know, I'm not saying you shouldn't be overtly explicit in your interests, but for you to express interest to a degree, to give the man like kind of like some sort of space.
Yeah, I feel like
no,
that
okay,
was the
I can
safety
ask,
for you. Like,
yes,
hey, I'm not just texting you because
correct.
you're texting me back and I feel bad.
I can ask her out now and feel like she might say yes because of that. So
So you
I
think either should make the first move?
I think either should make the first move. It's okay, but like
The first ask on a date should be
the first ask on a date should be a
man.
guy.
So
I think
what would happen if she would have asked you on a date first?
I probably would have said yes. I mean, I liked her.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter
then
I don't
later
think it
you
would
would've
have
been like, girl,
mattered.
you
But I'm
messed
saying
up.
for general rule, like.
But like that would have
I'm
been
just-
a reflection on you, or it would have been a reflection on her if she asked you out first.
I think.
Like you are a coward or she's thirsty. Like which
Whoa.
He would have decided she was thirsty.
ashamed.
I don't think he would have
But not that
respected
he
her
was
as much.
scared. Okay.
I think.
Yeah,
I think
I
he
mean-
would have got on the date, but
Yeah.
I think
I
it
would've-
would have. It would have
would've
taken
brought
longer
her
to
down.
get there.
Interesting.
I think
I genuinely think
the
that-
pursuit matters.
Yeah.
Being like going through the butterflies of like going out and like deciding, okay, I'm gonna ask her out. Like I think that matters.
It does.
Yeah, I don't
So-
know.
No, but but it could not matter to you. But I just knowing him, I would have been like him at that would be important to him. So I know
Yeah.
that it would have.
Yes.
Not saying that he wouldn't have married Rachel, but I think it would have taken him longer to get there, or to just be
she
like.
would have had to at some point been like, I don't know, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
something to make him be like, what? Wait,
Well,
come
she still
back.
did that anyways.
See, she knew how to play the
Oh my
game.
goodness.
So you disagree?
Or she legit didn't
Yeah,
care.
I disagree.
You think that anyone can make the move?
Yeah, I mean, well, you just
Okay.
brought up a good point of
Get
like
close to your mic. I don't know if Mango's hearing you.
Mango, give
You're
us
like
a hand
backing away,
signal.
Okay.
teacher. He's like,
I'm just trying to get comfortable. Anyway,
I'm
so yeah, you can
uncomfortable.
hold it for me. No, I think that you made a good point of saying like playing the game. That just always bugged me. I'm like, there should be no game to be played. Like
I
it should
agree.
just be if
I
you're
don't like the
interested
game
in
either.
somebody, just be honest, whether you're a guy or a girl, and you know, be vulnerable. Because once you get into that territory of like, okay, this is a game. The guy has to make the first move to show how he
Yeah.
is just masculine or whatever, and the girl has to, you know, play hard to get. That's just, well, I know I've kind of overused this word already when we were talking, but that's just deceptive.
toxic?
And it's
Deceptive.
manipulative. You're just, and
Yeah.
so why start a relationship off on that foot? Like,
wow.
just
So,
be
like, you wouldn't
vulnerable,
be-
be
But,
like,
honest.
what I
You
guess
wouldn't be turned off by a girl just being like, hey, you want to, I mean, obviously now you would because you're married. So
Well,
that'd
yeah.
be
I know, but
inappropriate,
before, if Kathy would have been like, hey,
yeah.
do you want to go hang out? You would have been fine with that.
That's what, well, okay, so originally, Kathy and I,
trifling.
well, no, Kathy and I have known of each other our whole lives. We grew up in the same neighborhood. We went to the same middle school and high school. We hung around the same circle of
didn't know
friends.
that.
We didn't really know each other though, but we knew of
Yeah.
each other. And then actually, it's crazy because we met at one of the voice conferences,
yeah.
and I approached her and wanted to get to know her, and she completely shut me down. So I'm
Okay.
like, okay, whatever.
So you made the first move.
Yes, but then 2 years later, literally 2 years later, at the
Wow.
voice conference again, shameless plug, I guess.
anything
Yeah.
can happen.
Yeah.
Jeez.
At the voice conference again, though, like she randomly, I didn't even know she was there. She just came up to me and she was like, "You want to come sit with us and
Whoa.
hang out with us?" I'm like,
Kathy.
"Sure."
Well,
Okay,
Yeah.
Kat.
Yeah, so I'm
she made
like,
the second
okay.
move.
Like literally, you guys hadn't talked in those 2 years.
The
No.
first, second move.
I still see that as a first move because for 2 years we didn't even talk with it. Like we weren't
Yeah, like,
friends. We didn't
nothing
talk to
was,
each
like-
She
other.
would have never
Continued
gone up to you and
flirt.
asked you to sit with him if it wasn't that 2 years before you try to get to know her, though.
She's like,
Maybe,
I'm gonna see
but
what
I
happens
still-
No,
I
to
don't
for
know.
you
100,
now.
that stuff doesn't leave our minds. That like
So
kind
was
of is
Kathy
like
playing the game?
yes.
Oh.
Well, shame on you, Kathy.
She deceived you. She manipulated
Yeah.
you.
I think she was probably no thanks.
She was
because
plotting for
we get
2
scared.
years.
Women get scared. That's our first reaction. Ugh.
Yeah.
And then also try to God, but that doesn't for like he liked me once, he will like me again. Because I think like doesn't
I feel
ever
like that's
stop.
extremely confident though. Like if a guy had approached me 2 years prior and nothing had, like, I would be like, I'm sure he's married. Like, I don't know. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she saw him and she
Yeah.
saw Reese being Reese, like not sitting there
She's
with
like,
a
he's
million
still
women,
alone
by myself.
He still
not being
wants me.
whatever. She was like, or she really was like, felt really sorry for him.
But like, let
Because
me
he was
just
there
give him a
crying in a
chance.
corner, was like, "Come here,
All
mom."
right.
He hasn't
Come
dated
eat with
any.
us.
He hasn't dated anyone
It's
since
been
he asked
2
me
years.
out. So.
It's also
funny.
it was come sit with us,
Yeah.
Right.
so she
Not
could have been
come sit
going in
right
for a
here.
friend.
That's true.
Oh,
she could have been
might
a
have
wing
been
woman.
Yeah, she could have been wing woman.
The wing woman became the
Yeah.
bride.
He's all like,
Wait,
"Kathy,
God,
did you like me or was
I know,
Did you
right?
pull me over to talk to Mackenzie?"
Yeah, now I need to ask
Yeah,
her
like,
these
we have
questions.
some stuff to talk about.
So either should make
I
the
think
first
either,
move.
yeah, I
You're
don't think
kind
it
of like
matters.
I think-
either, but the guy should.
I think the guy, to go by what you were saying, like, you know, like playing games. I think if guys make their intentions clear, they're the ones that are ultimately going to be deciding whether we play games or not, right? Girls can cut it off and be like, you're playing games with me and I don't want it, right? So they can decide that sense. But in terms of like running them along or like seeing like, oh, I'm going to get to know you but not date you, but I'm going to hang out with you but not date you. Like girls can feel that coming and they'll say, I don't want it. But other girls see it coming and they won't do anything. And so ultimately the guy's got to be the one to say, this is what I want. This is what I like you, I'm intentional, and I want to do this, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of what happened with me and Rachel. I was like, I didn't play the game. We went on one date, and I was like, I like you, but I live in Miami.
Here's all of the things I've ever done.
That was my second date.
Yeah.
That was my second date.
Okay,
on my first date.
It was the first day was Tuesday. On Wednesday,
that's
My
when
goodness.
I told her.
It was like that. It was like that.
I'm crying.
That's hilarious.
I'm not crying. It was like that.
crying.
Memories coming
It was
back
like
to him.
it was like on a Wednesday, and then it was like Friday or something like that. Like it was.
I gotta get this off.
But he
bold.
also knew he really liked her. That's the
Yeah.
thing too.
Yeah.
If a guy likes you, he's gonna let you know. So
Yeah.
it's not that's the problem with girls making the first move. I feel like the guy should make the first move, especially if you're little and you're young. Like you do not want to be that girl that's just after every guy.
Yeah.
Like you should, just because it's a little bit of knowing there is a sense of women's number one need is security. So you have to be secure in yourself before you commit to a relationship. So when you're going around trying to pursue men before you're just like have a high school diploma or graduate college or know who you are, it shows a lack of security right away. As a woman,
Yeah.
men's number one need is sex, women's number one need in a relationship is security. So we just process things differently. So I do think that's whatever. But when you're older, I think it's okay to like slide in DMs and do whatever. But as a woman, to have a secure relationship, we need that guy to make the move. Like we need it, or we won't ever be as trusting as we possibly can be.
I think too, like one of the biggest problems that like a lot of women were like, I've been single and what's wrong with the men in the church or what's wrong with men in general? I think the biggest thing is that we don't know what we want. Like men,
Are you adding anyone right now? Just kidding. Go ahead.
Himself.
myself,
2 years ago.
me. I'm adding
funny.
me in past self. Like we don't know what we want. Like, and so making the first move or not, like if the girl makes the first move, it's almost like she's deciding for him what he wants. And so I think that's
he'll
almost
go
like
along with it
subconsciously.
maybe for a little bit, and then one day he'll be like, actually, I don't want that.
I've actually been in relationships where I was in it longer than I should have been, simply because
They guided you the whole way.
they guided
Like,
me
it's
the whole
okay.
way,
Yeah.
and I felt nothing at the end of the day for this person. And so you can make the first move. It's okay. Like I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying know that you're probably making a decision for him that he might not be ready. And then when he's not ready to commit fully to you, don't be mad, because ultimately you kind of led him to this place where I'm not saying that you are not different and that you can't
You're
be
the
the exception.
You're
You
not
know?
the exception.
Oh,
He's
goodness.
lying.
You're not the exception.
He's not. You're not.
You don't want to make a decision for him. At the end of the day, you want him to know that he wants to be with you. And if he can't make that decision pre-dating, like you can be dating, he's not going to make that decision and marry you. Like he's not, you're just going to be in this long 3, 4, 5 year relationship. And then you're like, where are we going? He's like, I don't know. You tell
like, I
me.
don't
I've
know.
kind of been
that's
going
really
where.
that's really awesome, because it is true. It's like, because if they like you, the guy likes you, he's gonna let you know. He's gonna tell you what he wants. When he doesn't, that's the insecurity, and that's when the woman starts making the moves and starts doing the relationship. And there's technically, when you look at that, there's nothing wrong with it, but knowing how the male psyche works, there's things wrong with it.
And with women, we're typically passive. Like even when we're married, like, Rachel will be like, we have to do this and we have to do this and we have to do this. And I'll be like, because I literally care about a few things, I'll be like, all right, whatever. And if I take that same mentality and I remove it from marriage and I just put it into the dating life, a girl can be like, yeah, and then we could do this, and then maybe we could get a job here, and maybe we could do this and that, have kids, and I'll be like, yeah, I mean, I guess. And that's not what you want.
I think the same thing could happen though, even if a guy makes the first move.
Okay.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it will take longer.
I don't think it matters either way. If a guy is set on being passive, or they don't know what they want from the beginning, they could be seeking out a bunch of different women anyway, and the same mistakes could arise. I don't think it really necessarily would change.
For the first move.
For the first move,
Yeah.
yes.
What about like the 10th or 12th move?
I mean, yeah, at some point, you have to hold yourself accountable and be responsible for your actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that like making the first. I'm not saying that that if a guy doesn't know what he wants, that whether he makes the first move or not, that it won't lead to him not knowing what he wants if he already is there, right? I'm just saying that someone that will go intentionally out of their way to pursue something or someone is someone that will give off the perception, at the very least, the perception that they have an idea of what they want. And then through dating and getting to know each other, then you can assess, okay, well, he really does know what he wants or he's playing with me. And then girls just need to have the security and the boundaries to say, okay, actually, you did show interest. You did make the first move, but it's been too long. And you're not making a decision and you're not leading us in any specific direction. You're stringing me along. We're on and off. And so I'm going to cut it off. And so, yes, you're right. Any man, whether they make the first move or not, could ultimately not know what he wants. And that's where the girl would have to, because girls know, like you guys know when a guy is just kind of like in and out and not really fully committed. They can make that decision. I'm just saying that a guy that makes the first move is at the very least giving the perception that he has an idea of what he wants.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just a lot of times we think we know what we want when we really don't.
Yeah.
Until you date
it's
them.
the whole process.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you get comfortable, and then you're like, oh, this is fine, whatever.
But then it's still like, I guess it goes, because first move leads to second move, third move, fourth. That's what I'm saying. So like they could make the first move, but then they stop making moves after that.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's the problem,
Yeah.
Okay, why do you think women can't decide where to eat?
I don't even think that's true.
You don't think that's a
So, I
stereotype?
don't know.
I really want to hear this.
What? That's it, period.
No
I feel
explanation?
No, but I'm also a super not picky eater, so usually I will
Oh,
let
so you
anyone
just don't
else
care.
decide. But if someone's like, where do you want to eat? I'll be like, Lechonera, Chick-fil-A, Fresh Kitchen. Like, I don't know. I always have an answer, but I also, if I'm ever with anyone else, I'm like, I don't care, wherever you want.
I feel like I'm the woman in the relationship. I feel like I can't
Yeah,
decide what I
you are.
want to eat. But
That's what I feel like Gio's like that. Like, I'm like, come on, man. We'll be like halfway to a restaurant,
Me
and then he'll be
Gio.
like, maybe I want to go here. Yeah, you and Gio. Yeah, and I'm like, whatever, man. Just decide.
Oh, but this place just came. It's really good too. I know.
Yes.
So, but I will say this, like, that's very specific to like me or you or, but
We're unique.
we're
As a
unique.
whole?
But as a whole, I feel like women know what they want to eat. I feel like
Yeah.
women, and they know what they don't want
It's
to
a
eat.
game.
And so, but I feel like they're afraid to assert their opinion because they don't want to be viewed as bossy or as needy or something like that. So then they'll just say, whatever you want.
But that's what women are taught, even in the church.
Yeah.
That it's like, you can't be a nagging wife, you can't be whatever. And I think it's the one, I've heard sermons on that, like, there's a roach in your bathroom, don't kill it. Get your husband to come do it so that he can feel
Amen, though.
important.
I like that
Seriously?
message. I'm not killing any roaches.
Yes, I have
Like,
heard that with my own
She's worshiping
ears.
the Lord
Why would
over
someone
here.
even
and
It's
I'm
I'm
just-
a
It
confident
sense.
woman, but
But
I'm not
it's
going to
just-
kill a cockroach.
But to me, I'm just kind of like, I'm just gonna kill it because it's there.
Yeah.
Slash,
Yeah.
I can totally make decisions. This whole women can't decide, and I'm just kind of like, I can make any decision at any point, even if they're really bad. That's why I like, would you rather this person die or this person die? I was like, this person. And anyone
I
that
can't
knows,
live without any of them.
I'm just kind of like, yep.
Izzy's like, no.
I know
next
how
question.
to make decisions very, very well. So I don't know how to answer this question either.
Tell
So,
us,
like-
Reese.
Well, I don't think women are necessarily indecisive. I think it's more of they just expect you to know what they want.
Okay.
So there's actually this, going
Bring
back
us
to...
a study.
I'm gonna pull up a
Yeah.
study.
Tell us
guys.
some stats.
Yeah, so there's this thing called mentalizing where it's basically like you have the ability to, based on perceiving others and picking out certain
Cues.
Yeah, exactly. Certain cues and things like that. You can kind of mind read or see what someone is thinking about. And studies show that women are a lot better at men than doing that. And so
Yeah.
I think what it is that they expect men to just be able to do the same thing and understand what they're thinking. So when it comes to like, what do you want to eat? And they're like, I don't know. I think it's really more of like no, you should just know by the way I'm acting,
Yeah.
by the way I'm thinking, by the way you know me already, that you should know where I want to go.
I think that's true. But I think partially girls do that because they are taught I can't say what I want. So then they're really hoping
that you're
observant enough to say it for them, and then they're mad if you don't. But I do think it is. I feel like women are, as in general, are so perceptive of what everyone wants, whatever, that it is frustrating when guys aren't. And I'm like, did you even think about this for 1 second before you asked? Like one of those things where guys are very much rely on the I'm oblivious. Well, I don't know. Well, I didn't notice. And then it's like, okay, well, you noticed the video game that you liked to play.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could notice what your girlfriend likes to eat. It's one of those things where I think both are wrong, I guess. But
I saw an Instagram reel or something like that, or I think it was an Instagram reel where the girl was like, or the wife was like, I don't want to hear that you don't listen to details or that you don't know anything because I literally hear you talking to your boys 233 West, down on the floor, on the ground, he's on around the corner.
Or all the
talking to
stats
the boys
of athletes and stuff. And they're like, yeah, he threw a 2-9er. And I'm like, what? Who's this man that you're even talking about?
Yeah.
So you do, guys can remember details.
Like LeBron James broke the all-time scoring record last night.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So he just beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's been holding the
That's
record
so
for
awesome. Tell me
39
more
years.
about it.
So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
but women do play that game.
I couldn't give a rip.
But we're I don't know. It's kind of taught, but it's kind of we're just also that desperate, especially in the church, that we're let's just pretend we're someone we're not.
I love LeBron
when
James
guys are
too.
applauded to be the lumps that they are.
Yeah.
So we're please, could you be a lump? We're just let's be fake.
Yeah.
And it's just, let's get a divorce 3 years later.
No.
Interesting.
Just tell us what you want to eat.
In psychology, I don't know is never an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So they say that, they really do know, they just don't want to answer. So I was taught that. So even in counseling sessions, when people say, I don't know, I'm like, no, you do know, to pry. So it's funny what you were saying. I'm like, no, yeah, actually everyone does know.
It's probably a defense mechanism.
Yeah, it's more they're going to shut down or they feel like they're going to be rejected or.
Fear of rejection too is a real thing. So, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay, why are guys so timid to ask girls out?
Fear of rejection.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, I think, I don't think women.
Can't handle a no?
But I don't think women understand it's not just a no. There's so much tied up in our pride and our ego of someone rejecting us. And when you're expected to be the one to always ask a woman out, if you're expected to be the one to always make the first move, which our culture expects men to do it, then that rejection is just, I don't know, it's just very painful. And I think what people also don't understand is I kind of think we're getting more into it socially now. It's more socially acceptable for men to have feelings now than it was previously, and to an unhealthy degree. But I think that a lot of people don't recognize men are still insecure, men are still emotional, men still have fears, and they don't have it all together, but they're supposed to. We're supposed to have it all together. We're supposed to be strong all the time. We're not supposed to, cry or whatever. And so I think that ties in with the same thing. If we're rejected, then it's, I don't know, it peels back a layer of our vulnerability, which we're taught we can't be vulnerable.
Extremely, it's so vulnerable to put your feelings out there in the hands of somebody else to literally say,
crush you.
No, I'm okay, thank you. And you've been thinking about it for a week, 2 weeks. Every time you text them, you're thinking about the moment that you'll be able to work up the gumption.
I'm getting nervous as you're talking right now.
To ask them out. And then you're you call and you're okay, today's the day I'm gonna do it. If I can just get her alone for literally 3 minutes after the voice. I need 3 minutes. And then
they're at the altar. You're
oh gosh,
you're come on, guys.
You come up behind them and start praying.
Baptism of the Holy Spirit. We're why do we have to do that tonight? Right.
That's funny.
I have to slip out, but
before I go.
Do you think it's okay to ask someone out on text nowadays?
No.
I know you guys are all married, so you're not
Technically-
supposed to. You're not allowed to. You think that's still a no?
No,
I
I
feel
think
you can.
I think you should still be courageous and still do it in person.
I know, but still, do you think it's okay?
I did for Rachel, but
Are you discouraged?
because I don't like
did.
it. I don't like the thought of I prefer to do it in person because it could be so nuanced and so thought out over text. Be they think about it for 3 hours and all of a sudden then they come up with the perfect response to either reject you or accept it. That it's I'd rather just have an honest
right there.
I remember the first girl I ever asked out ever to be my girlfriend or to go on I can't remember if it was to be my girlfriend or to go on a date. But I do remember the first time I ever expressed anything like this to a girl was in 9th grade, and I go up to we've been having lunch together for like 2 weeks, and we just walk around lunch, and then I just ask her, and she laughs in my face.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Like actually, she's like, "Oh, you're serious?" Like that. I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I was, but it's okay." And then she ultimately said yes, and we dated for like a year, and then we broke up because I met the Lord.
I would have said no at the end of
love
that.
the
I mean,
Lord.
like, you just laughed at me though. Like, now I'm
still
saying
did
no.
It was a
She
good.
still dated
I
you.
know, so it was a win ultimately. But that's the type of like
I won.
you put yourself in that sort of situation where someone could legitimately either laugh or reject or whatever, and you just feel like whatever. I just want to put it in this perspective. Like, have you ever tried to share the gospel, like, ever to a stranger or to someone that you've been praying for, and you're just like, I just really want them to accept Jesus, and you're like scared, talk about the wait, you have a waiter or a waitress, and the Lord, you feel in your spirit that you need to talk to that waiter or the waitress, and every time they come up to the table, you're like, and they just walk away, and you're like, how can I do it?
Yeah.
And so just that's the same type of feeling where you're like, I just don't want them to say no, I don't want to feel rejected. Obviously, it's different because they're rejecting Jesus and not you. In the case of dating, they are actually rejecting you and
They
not
are
Jesus.
flat
That's
out
funny.
rejecting
But it's
you.
that-
Maybe they didn't like the God inside of you, so
Maybe.
they were
Amen.
like, "You're deceived."
Amen.
So I would say like it's similar to that. Like if girls want to know kind of what it's like for a guy to ask a girl out, think about the last time you even like tried to dare to share the gospel.
I think sometimes because it is such a heightened situation, I think sometimes girls' first response most of the time is no, unless they're like mad thirsty for real. So I think you're always going to get a no. So I don't mind getting a text asking out because I feel like it's not so serious.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's just relaxed.
Doesn't put you on the spot.
Yes,
You
it
can
doesn't
think
put me on
about
the
it.
spot. It's not so much. I don't feel the pressure, and I just don't feel this like, because in relationship, I feel like guys, whatever, whether they want marriage, sex, a one-night stand, they just come on so strong at first, and it's scary, and then they back off because then they realize, oh yeah, I'm done being horny, like it's over. Or then at that point, that's when women catch up. So I don't mind. I don't think it's as long to get the text because it's like, it's just casual, and it helps me, especially as someone who's like a good girl and not looking for a one-night stand. I think sometimes they tell their boys, they just prop that first date, they just make such a big deal about it. And I'm like, yeah, no, like that's too much. Let's just take it down to 1,000. Cause it's not a promposal. We make that, which whatever. The fact that promposal is the word, it's like, no, like, or even a proposal has become, it has to be this whole wedding and you need bridesmaids just for it. And I'm like, man, like there's just a lot of pressure, and it's nice to just me and you, and let's just see what happens. So I am not insulted by a text.
I feel like it's okay now. I would think like 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, I'd be like, no, we should talk in person. But I also wouldn't have liked it, I don't think, to be. I would never like a guy to just come up to me and ask me out. I would feel super awkward.
How about like asking out on a date over text, but then sharing like your heart over text? Like, would you prefer
I don't like
for
the
a guy
sharing
to
your heart
like what?
thing.
Like,
you
what
know,
do you mean?
like to be
Just
like, hey,
going-
like not let's go
Like
on a
how I
date.
feel about
like
you.
this is how I feel. Like I want to pursue you, or I'm interested in you to date you or whatever. Like sharing your heart with that person versus being like, hey, can we go out for coffee? Like those are two separate expressions.
I wouldn't mind
In person or over text?
over text.
I don't
wouldn't
think
mind.
the over
It really, I
text
think
thing,
that like there's just such this like, oh, you have to do it in person, you have to do this, you have to do whatever. And just the way society is, I just think it just adds so much pressure.
Yeah.
And the like I don't need the pressure. The fear of commitment is very, very real. So I'm just like, can you just relax? You know, and I get it too because I give off such a harsh vibe, but in relationships or in like group activities, I'm just not that. Cause I'm like, I'm a boss at work. At home, like, I'm just there for the hangs.
Yeah.
So like keeping it relaxed, keeping it casual, being honest, being patient, I love that quality in relationships. So I personally don't need the pomp and circumstance freaks me out. It shuts me down. So, but I get every girl is different. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like me, I'm just like, yeah, no. That's just too much pressure. I don't like it. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. But if you're just relaxed and just see, and I'm like, let's just see where it goes. And I'm like, oh,
Well, maybe we are.
Yeah, because I can actually enjoy it and not just have the pressure. But I'm sure majority of women
Like
in person, I want to see a proposal.
Get on your
Ask
knees.
my dad, to see if I can even go out to 7-Eleven with you, this whole thing. And I'm like, I think that's ridiculous. It's not a proposal for marriage. I think we make such a big deal about that first date, but not about like the
Everything
real
else.
good questions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the world? We have to post it. When are you Instagram fit? Like, there's just all these outside pressures now. And I'm like, geez, like, you can't even just like get a cup of coffee with someone and be like, maybe
go on a date and find out if you even are interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. You just have to choose to do that. I think a lot of times we say like we have to do all those things because it's all this pressure, but like we're putting that pressure on ourselves. Like you don't have to post everything you do. You don't have to make a scene for something. I mean, just do it.
No, yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to put that and like remind people that they don't have to.
And I guess I'm not saying that you have to do this whole, like, it has to be a whole show. I guess it's, I don't know, it's the EQ, like, that I have. I'm just like, I want to be able to, I want you to know exactly what I'm communicating. And I don't want you to, like, have to decipher my text message and read between the lines and try to find out my intentions in my heart and what my facial expressions would have been had I communicated this. I want you to know it's less about putting the pressure on you to make a decision.
Yeah.
Although I recognize that it might place pressure, but it's less about that for me. It's more about, no, I want to make sure that what I'm communicating is like explicitly clear to you and that you're not confused about my intentions, my feelings, and that any questions that you might have about what I'm communicating, what I'm expressing to you, we can address them and we can talk about them. So for me, it's less about the pomp and circumstance and let's make a big deal about it. And I'm telling my everybody, although I did tell all my family that I was talking to Rachel.
See?
But to me, it's less
That's
about
you, though.
like. But my family was in town literally for New Year's like that
in
year. It's
town.
like they were
My
all
family
that year.
was in
They
the
were
United
all in.
States.
They were all
so
in,
guys,
in
were like
Orlando.
this
All right.
on the
Anyways,
phone.
He invited
we
them
won't
all
talk
over.
about it. Okay, it's not a part of the podcast or the question. No, what I'm trying to say, it's less about that. I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to miscommunicate, like for that to be miscommunicated or misunderstood. For you to go to like your girlfriends and be like, well, what do you think about what he said? And he's like, well, I think he actually likes you. I don't know. I feel like if like my guy said it like this.
Yeah.
So if you would have, and I would want to avoid that. Like, can I just be honest with you and tell you how I feel?
But personality-wise, you'd hate to text and you would rather have a conversation.
I literally will ignore
But
text
I
messages.
just think there just has to be room
For both.
like whatever. Yeah. So whatever way you feel more comfortable or not, because whoever person you want to have a relationship with, they're going to be cool with whatever way is best for you or whatever's way is best for them.
Hopefully.
Or then there's always no, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Okay. True or false? We have to say true or false first, and then we can explain if we want to. Women want a man who's a little bit mean to them.
True.
Are you explaining or are we all going?
Just answer.
Are you going to
True.
explain
later?
Sorry.
Yeah, but
True.
Guys, you are breaking the rules.
know,
Sorry.
True,
yes.
true.
I would say
I said yes. It's true or false.
I would say true and false. It just depends on the person.
Reese.
True or false, bro.
But it could be
The
What would
joining
you
word here
grade
is
your
or.
former students if they put both true
Ooh,
and
that's-
false on a statement?
answer.
if
they gave
could
a good
explain
explanation,
themselves.
he would give them a good grade.
I would give them credit. Yes.
Oh my god.
Because that's what's important to me is that
See,
you're
you don't
thinking
know
through
where
the
you wanna
process and
eat.
you have the explanation. Yeah, I'm very indecisive. Just ask Kathy about the soup story.
Oh, yeah.
Story.
The soup story, yep. She'll know
Hashtag.
exactly
You
what
want
I'm
to hear
talking
more about
about
the soup story? Make us have an episode
Yeah.
5. I think true also. I'm just
wanna-
sad because
yeah.
I
Sad.
don't. I cry.
Yeah.
If I have a mean person, I could cry right now. Like a mean person, I'm like, no, I don't
Yeah.
like that. So like,
So you're not speaking from personal experience. You just think
no,
in
I
general.
I really like nice people. Like I am
Mm-hmm.
like in love with them because I think most people are mean. Once again, I think I give off a vibe that people think,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can be mean to you, and I'm just like, you're really rude.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm a rude person. I don't like that. So I do think most women want that. Or I guess deep down inside, they don't want that. They're just broken.
Yeah.
I was like, but as a whole, they just kind of like, the nice guys do finish last.
Yeah.
And then like in high school, the good boys are like, oh, they're nerds or they're not this or whatever. It is like and I think it's just women's innate intuition to like want to fix things and want to go after the bad boy. I think
Yeah, I
that
was
is
gonna
really
say that.
real. You know, and then you graduate high school and college and you realize, oh my gosh, I need a nice guy. But I
Yeah.
do think nice guys sometimes finish last.
Yeah, I think so too. I also am not speaking from personal experience. I'm like grossed out at guys who are mean or just treat girls whatever. But yeah, not from my personal experience. I always loved nice guys. And anytime a guy would, I haven't liked a ton of guys in my life anyways, but anytime a guy would be trying to like whatever to me and then they'd like say something that was like edgy or they would just like not, I don't know, like that, I would just be like, all right, bye. Like I'm just so grossed out. I'm like, like that. I'm like, you're rude. Why would you, I'm pretty sure you're trying to like flirt with me. So why would you do it like that? Like, I don't know. I've never, as soon as a guy is like that, I'm like, oh, you're really gross to me.
I do think, like you said, like they don't really want a mean person, but they're just broken. They don't really know how to be loved. We all don't really know how to be loved by Jesus, right? Like we don't want to accept his goodness in all of its entirety. We don't know how to compute like how good he is to us.
We'd rather decide we're being deceived than to receive the love.
We'd rather think that like things are not real, that God is not that good. And I think that we also do that, right? Like it's not just women, but we're talking about women wanting a man to be a little mean. I think it comes a little bit from that, or mostly from that. But have you seen like the Barney documentary, You Hate Me, or You Love Me, I Hate You?
No.
Okay, so watch it.
Scary.
Yeah,
it's like creepy.
It's not. Thankfully, like Barney, nothing happened like with little kids or anything like that. So it's nothing about that. So praise the Lord. But it's talking about how it follows Barney and its success and its massive success and the song and all the characters and how nice it was, how kids loved it, and how parents had to buy all this product and all these videos and all this stuff for Barney. But there was a subsect of people that just hated Barney. There was nothing to hate about it other than the fact that it was a kid's show, and who likes to watch kids shows. But I mean, but when you watch this documentary, people are doing like Barney bashing parties, like in college and universities. They would come into a room, they had all this Barney product, and they would shoot it and hit it with bats and destroy it and rip it, and they'd make comics about Barney being killed and like all this stuff. I mean, it was and so you're like, this is crazy.
Those people are lame.
Well, the idea or the theory is that
so
Barney
dumb.
was so nice that it did not relate to how the world is. So we had to hate Barney because Barney was fake. And so it's almost like,
man, that's so broken.
Yes, I know.
Father, help us.
So then I feel like that's part of how women might want this mean person. It's like, well, it's not just because they don't want to accept the goodness. It's like, no, it's like I actually view your goodness as fake. It's not real because there's no way that life could have been so good to you or that God could have been so good to you that you could be this complete, whole, emotionally healthy, spiritually driven, like secure in Christ type of person. That's fake. Like something's got to be broken. Something's got to be wrong. Yeah. And so then
it's a lie.
It's a lie. Yeah. Something's fake. I'm being deceived. So I'm gonna reject it. And I feel like that might play a part into it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes, obviously it's a form of brokenness and no one really wants anyone to be mean to them. But I do think sometimes there's a idea out there that like it means more if like the bad guy falls in love with you or something. I don't know. It's very like Grease, like watching Grease. You're like, oh, it's Danny Zuko. Yeah, like it means more than just like a plain old nice guy. Like, I'm always an advocate for nice guys. I always tell all the girls who complain about not being married, I'm like, there's him, there's him, there's him, there's him. And then they seriously, a lot of them are like, ugh, not him. And I'm like, why?
Yep.
And it's literally because they don't want to say it, but it's like, because he's boring, because he's not nice. So, like, nice guys don't know how to play the game. So, like, they ask you out like they're supposed to do and they whatever, and then you reject them. And then they don't understand that they're supposed to ignore you for 3 weeks and then you'll come back, and they don't know how to play that game and they don't want to play that game. So then I always do feel bad. I'm like, you guys don't want someone who's nice. You want this kid over here who like only talks to you through DMs and, ignores you when he sees you in person, and you like that. So it does make me sad because I feel like I don't know why women fall into that trap. And then, like there's an unequal amount of women and men in church, and men definitely have the upper hand as far as finding a mate. But I also see women, I'm like, you're doing this to yourself right now. You have to decide to like you don't want this man to be your kid's father. Like, he hasn't talked to you in 5 weeks because you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the bottom line is women are a lot more materialistic and a lot more superficial than we give them credit for.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
We only think men are, but women are. It's funny because I know you've always liked nice guys. Like, it's never been like a thing for you. So I'm like, no, yeah. So like, even here's the thing too, it's also the game too, because in my mind, sometimes I'm like, this guy that you're like sliding into your DMs, he's ugly and he's fat. Yeah. But because he's like, man, they're like, oh my gosh. So it's just funny too, because it's so like, they're both ugly and fat, but this one's mean to you and this one asked you out.
Yes, and the mean one is more attractive.
And I'm like, no, I promise you, they're both ugly.
Yes.
Like, it's just not even like a thing.
Yes.
But, so it's just fun because women can get over weight. We can get over their looks, but the game and it's a thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's really sad.
There's actually research. This is kind of interesting when you just said, when you're just talking about the whole like ugly thing or whatever, that women, so there's a study done between men who smoke and drink publicly versus men who don't and how women find them attractive. And it's actually really interesting that women find men who smoke and drink more physically attractive because they are perceived as risk takers. And for some reason, women have this pull or this connection to someone who's willing to take risks for someone who's not. So even though they'll say they like someone who is kind and nice and warm and whatever, they perceive them as less willing to take a risk. So they're not fit to raise my children, or they're not fit to, protect me or whatever, versus, and this is all unconscious or subconscious, whatever, versus someone who's like, wow, this guy is, he doesn't care about his health, and, he's smoking and drinking, doing all these crazy things, so he must be strong, he must be protective, he must be, whatever.
And so
he's broken and doesn't know how to cope with his feelings.
No, but I believe it. I believe it. Yeah. It's very, very skewed.
I think that's what, I don't know. I think that like women have the things that just you hear just growing up in the church and even being a pastor, like the things that you hear women specifically put up with in relationships is just infuriating. Because, like you also have to be a neutral party and you love everyone, whatever. And then there's like, yeah, I mean, he only likes when I wear high heels. And I'm like, him? That is the ugliest man I've ever seen. I can't even believe, like, you're a 10, he's a 6 at best, and he only likes when you wear dresses. Like, I'm so confused how that's a relationship still. Yeah. Which I guess is me being, like, materialistic and shallow, but I'm also just like, that's so mean. Like, I could literally like ask Gio you'd be like, yeah, is she more pretty? Is she whatever? Do you hate me because I'm wearing sweatpants? Like, I don't know. I could like just be so gross. And like, regardless, I'm sure he's like, I probably do like you when you like put on real clothes. Like, he'll just never say it and it never is false or whatever. And yeah, I think for him too, though, when he was in high school, like he was, a little bit rejected by like the cool girls. But I always remember being like, no, he's like, that man will be a great husband one day. Yeah. Like, awesome.
And you were wrong.
And I was
kidding. You were 100% right.
Yeah, and I was right. But yes, never the smoking cigars and like, like calling girls ugly, like never that. But I do see guys like that succeeding a lot more. When seriously, the looks, it's like, I'm like, you guys are all the same looks wise, but girls perceive it as different.
Yeah, it's also a difference between like short term and long term. So like studies also show that women are more interested in bad boys in the short term, whereas they want someone who's more secure and established in the long term. So that's why you see a lot of times like when girls are like really young, they'll always be around like the bad boys. But then as they get a little older in their 20s and early 30s, they'll start dating guys that are well above their age because it's like, there's just that switch that happens where it's like, okay, I'm done with this. I need someone who is secure.
Well, but sometimes that's true, and then girls try to turn the short term into a long term, and then that's like the frustration where you're like, oh, you just led me to marry you. Actually, I don't want to be married to you anymore. And it's
then
because,
they
like,
do marry like later.
Yeah. And then later on, they're like, oh, actually, I found a girl that I do want to change for. Like, that's awesome.
Because I put up with you for 5 years.
Am I going to say this? The majority, that's where I'm like, but it's, yes, the majority of women I know, majority that are married, they gave their man an ultimatum. And I don't know.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I don't know if that was the wisest thing. because it's they let them there and it's like, well, this or now, and they better. And I'm just kind of like, actually, no. And it's not about making the first move. It's about like, I don't think he really wants to go there with you. I'm not saying everyone, but the majority, that's where it is. And that's where women, they think they won. And then some,
Yeah, but you're falsifying commitment at that point.
Yeah.
It's not going to succeed.
Yeah.
It usually doesn't.
Which I feel bad because I feel like we're like harshing on women, but it's like, it's more just the observation of like, guys, all the like girl power stuff and all the whatever. I'm like, none of it is true. Like it's still, I feel like girls are in the same position they've always been in, which is feeling desperate to, my clock is ticking and this is happening. And so, I'm just going to settle for this type. Or I hear girls all the time in bad relationships. Well, I've been in it 4 years, 5 years, 3 years. So literally they're calculating like, should I just
the return on
see
investment.
if he'll marry me? Or, like they're basically like, I'll stay in it because I've already invested this much time. Not knowing that you have a whole life ahead of you and maybe we'll have kids one day. And like he needs to still like you then.
It's also a mutual conversation at that point too. Like, Mitch, whatever. Like Rachel didn't give you an ultimatum. No. Wasn't like, we're going to, and I'm like, no, it just, you were ready. And she's like, okay. So it's just like it's just where the conversation should be natural. This is what we want, this whatever. And that's a natural conversation. But sometimes it's like, if he doesn't do this by this day, then whatever. And I'm like, well, I think you proposed to yourself. He didn't propose to you.
Yeah.
That's why I think all proposals are fake now. I'm like, you knew he was coming. That's why you got your nails done. So you proposed to yourself. You picked out your ring. You told him if he wasn't that you were going to dump him. And then you went ahead and you put the ring on your credit card and you picked out your spot. Reese, if I am lying, may the Lord strike me dead. So then I don't really know. I was like, you're being deceived. I don't know if he really wanted to marry her or not. I just know he had no choice. And he, they've already bought a house. They've already put an apartment down. They've already bought a dog together. Like it's just... The ultimatums are crazy versus marriage. It's supposed to be a mutual conversation. Like, if you don't ask that question, and it's just like, oh, I think she's going to say no. You go, like, you've already been talking about it. Like, this is what we want. This will see our future. This is whatever.
That's also where men can step in and be men, which is super insensitive to say in 2023. But, like, they can step in at any point and be like, hey, I'm not feeling this anymore.
Yes.
Hey, I'm not, like they can be like, ultimatum. Okay, the truth is I do not want to marry you. Yeah. Like, I think, again, just because of how we're raised in church culture, like men always get off like easy in that realm. Like, well, she made him do it. Well, she made him. I'm like, yeah, but he also could have done the right thing and been like, actually, I stopped loving you 2 years ago. Yeah. So like, this is actually over. And I think that is the right thing to do when you stop feeling something in a relationship. And when you're like, oh, actually, I'm just using you for your money and I'm just using you for this, versus most men in those relationships, when they've really gotten sick of it and they really want to get out, the most they're going to do is just treat you super bad and hope that you dump them. Like, that's like the most I've ever seen is like, let me ignore your texts. Let me start talking about other girls. Let me only hang out with my boys. Let me whatever. And like, but that's like the most upfront I see a lot of men being when they want to get out of a long-term relationship.
I've actually done that. And so guilty is charged. I think like, as this man, especially like in the church, we tie the relationship, because we're not healthy and we don't have boundaries, we tie our personal relationship with our significant other with our relationship with the Lord. And we associate their relationship with God with your relationship with them, or their relationship with you. And so we think, well, if I break up with them, like, what church is she going to go to? How, is she going to get saved? Is she going to stay saved? Like, I don't know how secure she is in her relationship with God that if I break up with her, that I don't know if she'll love God. But why are you dating her if she's not secure in the Lord enough? Yeah. Like, and so that happens too. I see it and hear all the time. It's like, well, I just feel bad. I feel bad. You know, like, what's more hurtful is to stay in the relationship for
like
5 years.
stealing years from her
you're
life.
Literally stealing years. Her clock is ticking. Like, and you're stealing that away. Literally. Yeah. And you're stealing that away. And then one day you're going to break her heart.
But men don't care.
We should. It's
I
really
know,
sad. We should.
But we
It's
don't.
just not okay.
Like, and everyone that has sisters or mothers, if you've ever been born from a mother, like, you should like consider it. They don't, because there is chemical, for real, chemical, the biological clock. There is a chemical component in the desperation that women have that men don't have. It's like literally biological. Like the Lord made women to be just like, oh my gosh, it stinks. It's the worst. I'm like, Lord, why did you make us this way? But for whatever reason, in his great wisdom, he thought, wow, this is beautiful. This is the right way. But it's true. Like,
then men need to like love the Lord, get on their knees and grow in the Lord so that like they have a direction.
Grow a pair. I was
yes,
like, yes, that's
grow.
true.
Men need to grow a pair and like get their lives right with the Lord so that they can find out what it is that the Lord wants for them, the direction that they're going in, so that they can make decisions and know exactly, no, I don't want to date you. I don't like you. And your security that God like your security in Christ, it will tell you, God will handle her. God will take care of her. You don't need to worry. You're not God in her life. And so like, as you grow in the Lord and you trust the Lord, you're like, okay, well, you know what? I'd rather be honest. I'd rather be sincere. And I will, in the sake of, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but I'd rather your feelings get hurt a little bit now while I'm being honest with you and not mean or rude, just honest.
Yeah.
So that like you're going to be brokenhearted, you're going to run to the Lord and and the Lord will have to handle it. You can't be her God. And so that way you can go run to the Lord too and find out what the heck it is that God wants for you and what you're doing with your life. Men need to grow a pair. They do.
A pair of
I'm
boots.
tired of it. Like, men, and then women get strung along and it's hurtful. I've literally done it. Like
I'm the villain.
I'm the villain.
Yeah,
I'm the villain in this story, guys. Like it's really hurtful.
I know.
I know. I will be the first one
I am
to
not
accept it.
deceived. I saw it with my own eyes.
Yeah, you saw it before it even happened. You saw it. Sonia's known me for a really long time. So anyways, just don't do that. Be honest. Like break up with them if you need to. If you don't like them and you don't know where the relationship is going and you've been strung along as a guy, you're just kind of going along with it, end it. It's okay. You've invested 3 years. Okay, then don't lose 3 more.
Yeah.
Like just stop it right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Stop it.
No, you're good. Anything you want to add, Reese?
It's probably an unpopular opinion, but I think
everything you guys said was wrong.
No,
Yeah,
I don't think that.
like,
I don't think that, but I do think we're generalizing and yes, some men are like that. Some women are like that. But I just want to make sure like we understand like not everybody is like that. And we shouldn't just chastise everyone as like all men are like this or all women are like this, but we are all broken and we all have our issues, when it comes to dating and relationships like that. So that's the only thing I would throw in there.
Reese, get out.
Well,
I'm
it
sorry.
wouldn't be nearly as
He did
fun
say he
if
was
we
like
had
that,
to consider
and then
every
she did say
individual.
she
I'm
likes
sorry.
the guys, but she does.
I'm speaking for
Yeah.
me and for the guys that
that do that
like
thing.
this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally agree that yes, I do believe that there are people that do that.
There is a subsect of people that don't for whatever reason, but these are the sweeping generalizations of what you see every day.
Possibly.
You don't think it's true at all?
We're not saying that you're bad, Reese.
No, I
or
understand that. No,
Kathy
it's not
is bad.
that. I just clearly there are issues with people in relationships, or our divorce rate wouldn't be as high as it was. There wouldn't be such abuse and domestic violence in the household. So clearly there is an issue. But what I'm saying is, I don't know anyone, like, maybe I'm trying to make it more personal than I should, but I'm trying to think, I'm like, I don't know people's relationships like that. And I don't want to sit there and just start saying like, oh, you're acting like this just because you're a man, or you're acting like this just because you're a woman, or or even, I guess even get into that mindset of maybe looking at someone, I'm like, oh, your relationship seems a bit off. It might be because you do this or you do that. At that point, I'm just like, okay, I just want to clear my head. I don't want to try to, judge anyone's personal relationship in that sense. So we may be coming at this in 2 different directions.
Yeah, you're coming at
I'm
a weird
scared.
direction. I know. Whoa. I was like, that's crazy.
funny.
No, because he was just talking about himself, but then also too, she said Gio was a good guy, good relationships. Like, so she,
Yeah. I'm saying
Her
I have personal.
she has really good,
as a
good
pastor
story. Like, it
or
wasn't
as a
bad-
friend,
her
I
story
feel like
wasn't
I have
bad.
personal evidence of these things that I'm not going to say because I'm not going to put people's business out there. But the general,
understand.
I say the general times where it's like, hey, I'm having a problem. Hey, I'm having this. It leads back to so many of the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And obviously gender roles are changing and blah,
In
blah,
that
blah,
case, I
and all that
understand what
kind
you're
of
saying.
stuff. But I'm saying, like, the podcast isn't just to talk about, like, how's everyone doing everything right?
Yeah.
What a boring thing to listen to. Like,
I also think, like, I think sometimes the people that do have good relationships, they don't know how good they have it.
Yeah.
I think that's real.
I understand.
And so then it's either, and I know this is not what you're saying, but it's like to shut your mind off to like other relationships or to just pretend. Like we were talking the other day, there's the other, I think podcast 2, like we had Peter Reeves on it and then Kaimana on it. And they're like, yeah, I met my spouse at 15.
Nice.
So I'm looking at them and I'm
Awesome.
like,
Good for you.
And
we didn't even know.
That's the
We didn't
shortest
even know
podcast
that.
ever.
That's funny.
But there's like no,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not reality.
That's not.
You know what I'm saying? Thank God that that's their story. But like, that is so, like the generalization, it is a generalization, but that's the majority of the population. Like most people don't have like kind of a solid, easy relationship in church.
I
Like you
understand
had,
that.
or like you had.
Yeah.
He had a lot of ups and he has a great relationship now, but it's a rocky road. So like,
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
he's like, I agree.
Now you can
I'm
leave.
now on this.
I'm just kidding.
Just 'cause not all of us have perfect Kathy in our life.
Yeah, friggin'. She's not perfect. I work next to her.
She's not perfect.
You guys work right
like,
next
let
to
me
I
each
work
tell
right
you
next to her.
something.
Gosh.
Well, we're going to do something that we've never done before because we've kind of gone super long over time. So we're going to go ahead and end episode 4, but we are going to add an episode 5.
Wow.
So we're going to end it. And if you want to continue with this conversation, we're going to go ahead and begin episode 5, but you won't get it until a week from now.
Wow, what a bonus.
So you need to go ahead and catch up
expecting
for next week.